Alright, for this one, I'm going to show you how to animate with keyframes and anchor points. So, I already went in and I found something I wanted to use, and I broke it apart into individual layers, saved each layer individually because otherwise they will be the size of the composition, which is a pain in the butt. And then what I'm going to do is just import them real quick. So I'm going to go import, and it's going to do multiple files. And I'm already in the right folder, and I will send you this file as well. It's a PSD, or a bunch of PSDs actually. So I'm just going to select all the different layers I have in mind for this project. Give it a second to do its thing. Okay, so we got them all. I already have a comp open. It's set to a 720 standard for DV. And so let's just bring the pieces in. So you'll see what I got here is a body, and I got a head, and a left arm, and a right arm, and a left leg, and a right leg. There we go. Okay, and you notice it's a little too big at the moment, but we'll worry about that later. First things first though, I might even move these over to the side just so I can see them a little better, is we need to set the anchor points. Now this one's anchor point is right in the dead center there. If you see, it's right off the side of this line. That's good. But you notice that there are these dots, which would be the pivot points if we'd print this out and we're doing like an actual paper doll as opposed to some sort of, After Effects project. So what I want to do is I want to move this anchor point up to this point. Now there's a couple ways of doing that. One way is to go down and actually find that layer within our composition here and expand out its options. And it's taking a second. I guess my computer's a little slow right now. Come on. There we go. And there's this anchor point, and you can actually drag the anchor point sliders here and move up the anchor point. Now the other way is if you go to the very top here, there's this thing, it's pan behind. That's a weird tool, but what it does is it lets us actually grab the layer and move it around. In theory, if my computer was doing what I wanted to do, which apparently it's not. Because normally you should be able to actually select the anchor point and move it, but it's not working. And the pan behind is apparently not working either. So there we go. You see that's working? I'm just grabbing the anchor point and dropping it right over the dot, or at least as close as possible. I'm actually going to move it down a little bit more just so we have a little bit of a better movement. And so we're going to select this arm. We're in the same tool already. I'm just going to move the anchor point up and set it right where I think it should be. The leg, same thing, just move it up, set it there. And the other leg, you get the idea, and the head. Okay, now the next thing is to actually kind of build this together so it makes sense. So the head's going to be in the foreground, so that should be on top of the body. That makes sense. Now the arms actually should be behind the body. So let's get them in a general position so that they kind of line up the way we think they should. And that looks actually pretty good to me. I think that'll probably pivot nicely and not look quite as creepy. And so let's get the legs. So this is the left leg, and this is the right leg, and that looks good to me. So the next thing to do is I want to make sure I'm going to actually put the arms and the legs together, and we're going to move this down toward the bottom, the head and the body to the top. The head's going to be in the foreground while the body's behind it, so everything there makes sense. So the next thing we want to do is we want to have a parent for the arms, the limbs, basically the head and the arms and the legs. And so the quick and dirty way of doing that is if you look down at the bottom here, you'll see parent, and then you'll have all these and they're set to none. Well, we want them all, except for the body of course, to be set to body. So we're going to set the head to body, we're going to set the right leg to body, left leg to body, left arm to body, and so on and so forth. And so now what we have is if we actually are on the body and we're with the select tool here, we can move the body around, and everything else is assigned as a parent or a child item in this case will move with it. Now the other cool thing is right now this doll is too big for the composition window, but if we scale it, if we scale the body, everything else will scale appropriate. Will scale with respect to the body the way it should be, and so that's good. So let's set this person over to the side here. Now the next thing we want to do is while the body is going to change position, I don't plan on rotating it. We can. Actually, maybe we will. We'll turn that on so we have the option. So we're going to go in here, we're going to turn on the rotation, the position. I might as well turn scale on just in case I want it. The head's going to be a matter of rotation as well, because everything else about that should be affected by the parent. Now we're going to change the position for the right leg, the position for the left leg, left arm, and right arm. Should open up. There we go. And we want rotation. So we've set rotation on all those items. Oh, I actually set position on this one. Rotation. Make sure I didn't do that. Yeah, I did. Rotation. Rotation. Position. That's good. And the head should be rotation too. Yeah. Alright, so I think we're good now. Everything's set to rotate because I don't want to change the position because then they would have severed floating limbs floating around. So that was just a silly mistake on my part. And let's see, close this one. Okay, everything looks good. So what we're going to do is, first and foremost, I am just going to lift this leg. So I'm going to pick the leg on the side here. I'm just using the rotation tool from the top here. And I'm just going to pull the leg out. And so it'll look like she's moving her leg out. Now, I'm going to move it slightly forward. About a second, looks like. And I'm going to move the position of the body element, and you'll see everything moves with it. I'm going to move it down slightly, and I'm going to change the rotation of the first leg. So it's going to look kind of like she's doing, a split sort of thing. Now clearly there's something a little bit off there. So what is it? I don't think the rotation's set correctly. So I'm going to step back a couple steps here. Control Z. And I'm on the right leg. Let's make sure that rotation's set. Okay, so the rotation's right. So we're going to go about 1 second in, go to rotation, make it rotate. You see there's a new anchor point. So there we go. We rotate out. And now I'm going to do on the body, I'm going to do a position marker. So I'm just going to go over to the side here, hit where it says add remove keyframe, and then I'm going to move the body position over slightly and down because it makes more sense. And I'm going to rotate out this one leg here so that it's kind of back where it was initially. So it'll look like she's kind of doing the splits and dropping her legs out. Well, I moved that too far, so move this back here. Oh, yeah, see what happened there? So let's try this again. And then I can make her stand back up again. So I'll rotate the legs in and the body position over and up. And so we'll see what that looks like. So there you go. We got her kind of doing this sidesteppy thing. Now what we're missing is any sort of other movement. So let's just look at the arm here. We have an initial position already set for the arm. So what we want to do is give it somewhere to go. So maybe in the middle here we want the arms up. So we'll do that. Arm up, and by the end we want them down. Arm down, arm down. And maybe while this is going on too, we want the head to kind of do a little wiggle thingy. So we're going to make the head do its wiggle thing. And the head's options for rotation are already set, so every time I'm moving it here as I go through the times, it's going to be adjusting. So what we'll see is we got like this Bollywood sort of dance move going on here. And so what you do then is you just continue doing this. Now the problem is, if we wanted to make the rotation and make the same basic movement look right, we could do that. We could actually copy these keyframes, and I'll demonstrate that actually. So let's do right leg, left leg. So we got the right leg, we got the left leg. So let's minimize this. Right arm, left leg. There we go. So we got the legs together, and let's open them both up so we can see them. So say we're at this point and it's sort of stalled. Now if we click on rotation, you'll see that all these keyframes are actually highlighted. If we hit Control C and then Control V, we'll copy and paste those again. And same thing down here. So Control C, Control V, and now we have these new keyframes. So we'll go, and then all of a sudden she'll do this like weird leg thing. Now the problem is, if you can't tell, the position markers don't match anymore. And the problem is that the position of the body won't actually work the way we're thinking it should, because the position of the body is relative to a fixed point in the composition. So what we'll have to do is actually move the body as we did originally. So the legs spread open, does this fall thing, legs do their thing, and right about there we should start having it fall. And so I guess maybe about there it should have landed. So blah blah blah, and then we need to have it come back to center again, and we can do that up here. So now we got blah blah blah. And so if you look, it looks kind of like she's doing some sort of weird creepy walk thing across the screen. Anyway, the other thing we can do is, now that we're at this point, we could actually just play around a little bit. If you rotate the body, what you'll see, we could make the body squat, and that's, since we don't have those keyframes marked, that was a matter of the scale. I think we actually had that scale set, so we could actually make it get smaller as the timeline goes on. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a rotation keyframe at this point, and then we'll move over here a little bit, and let's rotate her around like 180. And hell, why not change the position too? We're going to do something silly looking. And so if you look, what we got is crab walk into whatever the hell that is, head plant. Okay, now the last thing is, even though the parent-child relationship works, so if we're moving the body, everything moves with it. If we select one of these other parts by itself, the arm, and move it off to the side, it will move and stay off the side. So we want to make sure is that if we're going to do that, we actually set a position keyframe, and we could actually have her like break apart at the end here. So let's do that. Actually, I'm going to go in here, set a position keyframe at this point. I'm going to set a position keyframe at this point for the body. I'm going to set a position key point for that. Left leg, right leg. Let's do the arms, position keyframe, and let's do a position keyframe here. So now, for the last few seconds of this, what we're going to do is we're going to dismember this poor thing. So, oh yeah, I double clicked so it actually went in and showed me that layer. There we go. There's the leg, and there's the other leg. And so, just for kicks, I am going to make this body rotate a little bit more at the end here also. So let's set up the rotation on the body, and we can do it like there. So let's see what happens. So now we have weird sort of sidesteppy ballet dance walk into spinning dismemberment. And I think the head should be off the screen at the end here, so let's do that. My goodness, there we go. So now we got crab walky thing into spinning dismemberment. And so, I mean, that's how you would readjust the anchor points, set up a parent-child relationship, and set up keyframes to do a basic animation. So what I'll do is I'll attach the, I will zip up or something the different layers themselves and give them to you as well, and then I will also render this out after I quit recording this screencast. Okay, so let's one more time watch it quickly because it's funnier quicker. So we got crab walk thingy, it's gonna be really slow in real life, and then spinning dismemberment. So there we go. Alright,